Well, we have some news. Marc Stein with a brand new Denver Nuggets report after just about a month ago, he already alerted Nuggets fans to potential changes that could be on the horizon. Now we get news that Nikola Jokic is considering not signing an extension this summer with hopes of the Nuggets improving the roster. This is the biggest piece of news that we've gotten about Nikola Jokic and an offseason contract in the history of his tenure with the franchise. We got a lot of stuff we got to get into, a lot of stuff we got to talk about. Y'all know what time it is. This is Swiper, and this is Locked on Nuggets.
You are Locked on Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? This is Swiper, and this is Locked On Nuggets, here to talk to you with a very special Saturday episode about some recent news around Nikola Jokic that just came out. Shout out to y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. I hope you're having a great Saturday as we continue to roll through the NBA offseason. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. All right, y'all. So the Denver Nuggets, there's some news that has come out. Nikola Jokic is considering not signing a contract extension this summer with the hopes that the Nuggets continue to make moves and enjoy having Jokic on the roster. You're going to do that. You're going to have to be able to get better. So let's read directly from the report, because I think it's important that we share. As always, y'all, make sure you really tap into Marc Stein's. Go to his Substack and subscribe to his Substack. There is incredible information in here. This is the latest from Marc Stein. So the latest from our notebooks on the Nuggets and their efforts to retool around Nikola Jokic after a first-round exit, plus more fresh trade and free agency chatter before Marketplace officially opens Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, Jokic informed the Nuggets around this time last year that he preferred to delay contract extension talks for another year. The Stein line has learned that it is under consideration again this summer, electing to take the same step in holding off on extension talks. Now, Jokic, quote, of course, said repeatedly after Denver's first round elimination by Minnesota, I want to be a Nugget forever. So Nuggets fans, I want to really stop right there. This was just a couple of months ago where Jokic said, I want to be a Nugget forever. Remember, before he signed his last deal, when they asked him about it, the media did, on will he sign an extension with Denver, he said, if they want me, if they offer it, I will sign. So Jokic has always been of the mindset and the language that he will resign with Denver if Denver wants him. He was on the same foot this year, that I want to be here. He enjoys being here. He's had a lot of success here as an individual. He's won a title here. There's a lot of stuff that Jokic is very bought into. My friend and colleague Matt Moore jokes that he just simply thinks Jokic might not want to move because that would be such a hassle. He doesn't want to deal with that. But I think there's more to it. I think Jokic really has his feet and his family entrenched in Denver. His kids have been raised in Denver and also in Serbia. His wife is comfortable in Denver, reportedly, also in Serbia. So there's a lot of stuff to this. His family has been here for 10 plus years. So that's the first thing. That's one of the reasons why Jokic has felt so comfortable in wanting to stay and belong. To continue, of course, given the nature of the Nuggets' early playoff exit and well-chronicled concerns about the potency of his supporting cast, unease in Denver is inevitable if Jokic decides to persist with his current deal, which pays him $59 million next season for a $63 million player option in 2027 and 28. And so, just for context, you all, to stop there, Jokic has 2 years left on his deal. He is going to make over $50 million this next year, but has a player option for summer 2027 where he can opt out of a $62 million deal to sign a new contract with Denver or with anyone else. So that's the first thing, is that he already is under contract for 2 years, and he has a player option on that second season, in case you didn't remember or know that. But big part. Since the day after the NBA Finals ended, Denver and Jokic, who is 31 years old, have been allowed per league rules to come to a verbal agreement on a 3-year extension worth nearly $215 million over for 3 years, which is about $72 million, or a 4-year pack worth nearly $280 million, which is about $71.70. Now, either can be agreed to and then officially signed after the league's annual moratorium on transaction is lifted July 6th at noon Eastern Standard Time. And so we got this week that the Nuggets brass been tendered. We cannot comment on the extension talk because of the league rules, but you've heard what he says about his happiness here. We really feel comfortable with that relationship. So again, I want to pause another time here. The Nuggets are aware of this. They know that Jokic wants to be here. Both sides want the contract situation to play itself out, and they believe that Jokic on the other side of this is going to want to sign and re-sign with Denver. But here is the second part to this that I think changes the dynamic a little bit for what's happening right now. Now, league sources say that the Nuggets, meanwhile, are indeed actively pursuing trades to try and strengthen their star supporting cast. The pressure on them to deliver has undeniably been ramped up, albeit arguably more by the strong teams in San Antonio and Oklahoma City have in the moves the rivals are making, such as Minnesota swinging big to pair LaMelo Ball, all-NBA caliber player, with Anthony Edwards, than any pressure Jokic is applying. The 3-time MVP to date has essentially foisted less pressure on his front office than any superstar in the league. Now, chat. This is really important to me in particular. To start with the latter, Jokic is different. He is different. He is not like his contemporaries who have come before him. He is not pushing the Nuggets front office and ownership as of up until this summer to make significant improvements to the roster. The most we've really ever heard about him wanting something is when he asked for Russell Westbrook to be on the roster. And it worked, and it helped him out immensely. But Jokic has never used his weight as a 3-time MVP as I think one of the 10 best basketball players that's ever touched the sport. He has never used his authority and his talent to make the Nuggets make significant changes around him. But that time could be changing because Jokic, you know what's happening is he watches the NBA Finals. He sees Dylan Harper, Devin Vassell, next to Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, 6th Man of the Year, and Keldon Johnson. He sees them have Carter Bryant, all these young trade assets and all these young players on the roster. He's watching what they're doing. He's paying attention to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai didn't have a great playoffs, but hey, Alex Caruso, all these other players, AJ Mitchell, you're able to be great. He sees that they got J-Dub, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jay Will, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, Kenrich Williams. Go up and down the list. He's watching these things happen. And so Jokic is also looking at his situation saying, why is it that when we're getting to the end of the year, it turns into me or bust quite often? And then on top of this season in particular, he dealt with an injury for the first time in his career when Spencer Jones, on an accident, landed on Jokic. And then from that point on, Jokic went from a 30, 12, and 11 season on 72 true shooting to still a really good year. But the whole last half of that season, he was not the same player. And I think the knee injury, the wrist injury, the elbow injury, I think that stuck with him all season, and it affected him going into the playoffs. That's why he shot so poorly from three. But I think if you just look at the roster and you look at what Jokic has had to deal with, he has not been afforded the same level of talent around him as other 3-time plus MVP winners have. LeBron, Jordan, Shaq, like Kobe together, obviously, but even Larry Bird, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, these players, Moses Malone, even in the 1980s with the 76ers, best team in the league. Like, these players usually get preeminent all-time great talent around them or elite, relevant to that era talent around them. And I think Jokic It took 11 years for him to get an all-NBA player next to him. But outside of that, DPOY candidates, all NBA defense candidates, all NBA candidates in, different positions, but then even the depth of the Nuggets. Now, some of that's Calvin Booth and the backward strategy that he had that really sunk this team in a lot of ways and the infighting, but that's also a part of this as well. Jokic watched and heard all of the nonsense that went on with Calvin Booth and Michael Malone, and he had to watch a season go down the drain because of it. So that's on top of 22 with all the injuries, on top of 21 with all the injuries. I mean, there's so much. He's won 1 title and 3 MVPs, and I think he's looking at his career and he's looking at it saying, I might need to dictate terms a little bit more. We'll talk about more on the other side because I think there's a lot more information in Marc Stein's report that we need to get to. But also I think some information and really just some honest dialogue between us to maybe put it in perspective how this moment is happening. We'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. There are more live events than ever we're seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans are turning to Gametime. The app is built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, exclusive saving opportunities that help you get the events you want without the usual hassle. Y'all know, when you go to concerts and you go to theater, you go to games, you want to make sure you have a good view and you want to make sure that you get the things out of that event that you want. So when you go to Gametime app, you can look at zone deals. It shows you the perspective from the seat. It gives you the best price possible. That way, I know what view I'm getting my money's worth, and it makes the experience what it is for me. So that's why I love using Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LLCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. We'll be right back for more here at Locked On Nuggets. And we are back here for Locked On Nuggets. Shout out to you all. Thank y'all so much for joining us each and every day. Little Saturday special episode. Hope you're enjoying your weekend so far. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube side as we are up on the way to 15,000 subscribers over here. Make sure also if you're listening to this on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify, that way you give us a 5-star review. That way more and more people can listen to the great content being made here at Locked On Nuggets. Also, tap into us with our Supercast and make sure you join the Locked On Nuggets Discord as well. All right, y'all. So look, this simple. Jokic is already back on the floor. Apparently, he played today and played well because he's Jokic. But I want to share some more about this Marc Stein report because I think this can put more stuff in perspective for all of you that have not read it. So here is some more information. Now, Denver's exploring the trade market to bolster and reshape the roster around Jokic, but also to create additional financial flexibility to match any offer sheets tendered to restricted free agent Peyton Watson. Now, here's an important part. The Nuggets are confident they will retain Peyton Watson, league sources say, but there's growing anticipation they will have to part with at least one regular from last season's 54 and 2018. Now, Jonas will not be back. Tim Hardaway Jr. might be back, but this part, the Stein line reported earlier this month, and Aaron Gordon is generating the most trade interest among Denver veterans. It is believed that the Nuggets would prefer to trade Cam Johnson on an expiring $23 million a year contract and Christian Brown rather than Gordon and Jamal Murray, but it is not clear if they can assemble a trade that both assures Watson's return and strengthens Jokic's roster. Now, here is the thing that you and I have talked about that we have gotten into deeply. Christian Brown. I'm going to say this very quickly. I think Christian Brown can be a great player in the league. I think Christian Brown can be a Derek White, hopefully, level role player. Aaron Gordon, level role player. Alex Caruso, maybe one day, level role player. That would be the goal. But as of right now, if Christian Brown went back to 2 years ago, 16 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 39% from 3, good defender, good transition player, great transition player, decent spot-up player, but not like a B+ at anything, then I think that contract still isn't worth it. They paid him $25 million thinking that there was an ascension where he was going to get to, hey, you're like an elite on-ball defender. You're an elite defender, period. You're also a dynamic offensive player. And as of right now, he is not those things. So with that being in mind and trying to imagine what his ceiling looks like, I think Denver should be trying to move off that money because they shouldn't have signed him to $25 million a year. But now that you have, you don't want a situation where you're in a much better player than Zeke. But the Zeke situation is you have money on the roster, $7 million a year. You cannot move. You got $25 million on the roster. You cannot move. $32 million on your roster that you cannot move. You do not want that. Which is why I don't want this to happen, but I propose there's a way you can do it where you can get rid of Christian Brown by coupling him with Jamal Murray or Aaron Gordon or whatever else it might be to get off that money. Now, you don't want to do that, but financial flexibility, y'all, as you know, in this CBA is like of the utmost importance. And if you don't have flexibility, if you are not able to maneuver the salary cap and to be able to sign free agents, it limits your ability to do anything with an NBA team now. So they absolutely should consider trading Christian, but also Cam Johnson, because you know what? There's a lot of value for Cam Johnson in the league. You get a bona fide shooter, good ball handler, good defender, smart player who showed up in the playoff this year. And I think has a lot of great skill sets to him, but he just got hurt like everybody else did on the roster other than Jamal Murray last year. But I think there's a lot of value for that. I think there's value for, obviously, incredible value for Aaron Gordon, for Jamal Murray. You just saw what LaMelo Ball got for. Even if you don't think Naz Reid is that great of a player, Naz Reid is a bona fide starting four in this league. $25 million a year. Really good score. And they got 3 swaps, an unprotected first out of that. And Murray is a good bit better than LaMelo Ball. Murray has value in this league. A 6'4.5" point guard. That's a 25 points per game score, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 43% from 3, 42% on pull-up threes, on 5 pull-up threes a game, 90% from the free throw line dang near. You don't find players like that. So the Nuggets have assets. It's just a matter of they don't want to touch Jokic, Murray, Gordon. They want, if they have to move Brown, Cam. I think reading this article, if you're a Nuggets fan, you should walk away knowing the Nuggets' ideal core is Jamal Murray, Peyton Watson, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. That is their 4. They want to build the infrastructure around those 4 players. And what I'm saying to you is I'm with that. I was with that during the season. But for Jokic, you cannot play around with my career and be like, oh, all of a sudden, we're going to get really cheap, not pay Peyton, not bring back Cam, not bring back, trade CB, trade away Aaron Gordon to save money. And now I got another year, just like 24-25, just like 25-26 ended up being because of injuries, just like 21-22, where because of injuries, 21-20, I lose another year of my prime. Injuries to the team. It can't be that way. It cannot be that way. So some of this is Nuggets, John Wallace, Ben Tenzer, Josh Kroenke. Josh, you believe you are the culture curator for Denver, which is fine. But if you evaluate the culture over the last few years, it has dropped the ball a lot. Since last year, they were completely defeated playing versus the Minnesota team, missing 4 of its 8 best players in Game 6. Adelman wasn't up to snuff to do the job on that run. And I think they lost the team like the coaching staff did. Like, you don't lose to teams that you have a decided talent advantage over, even if you have injuries of your own, unless you're running into clear systemic issues that I think are plaguing the team. That's on Josh. But also, Josh, you are overseeing all these other teams, Arsenal, Rams, Avs. But for some reason, when it comes to Denver, there is a hesitancy to get in the mud. Do you not realize, y'all, since Tim Connolly went over to the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have changed their identity 3 separate times. 3 times since he's been there. Like, they went and got Rudy Gobert and added and had to give up a lot of stuff to get him. They then got off of Karl Anthony Towns because of money and moved him for Julius Randle and got Dante DiVincenzo back. They then traded for the guy I've been pining for Denver to trade for, Ayo Dosunmu. And then They just traded for LaMelo Ball, who's also an all-NBA caliber player. So go up and down this list. The Thunder are aggressive and making moves. San Antonio, draft luck, Wemby, but they're making adjustments. The Wolves constantly reshaping this team around Anthony Edwards until they get it right. Denver, draft Jamal Murray in 2016, draft Nikola Jokic in 2014, draft Michael Porter Jr. in 2018, trades for Aaron Gordon in 2021, draft for Peyton Watson in 2022. But then you trade for Cam Johnson, great. But outside of that, you have been literally sitting on your hands. So on the other side, I'm going to talk more about this because I think this is the crux of the issue for why Denver is running into what it's running into right now. We'll talk about that more here at Locked On Nuggets. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales to accounting to inventory, marketing, and everything works in one place, helping your team to move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. Now, the best organizations, y'all, they know that success isn't just about talent. Everybody has to work towards the same goal, and this is true in sports just like it is in business. Now, when you think about what needs to happen with Denver, it can't be reactionary. It has to be planned, but there needs to be a very clear vision. And the vision should be the Nuggets need more talent. They need more athleticism. They need to get better. Well, guess what? Organizations have to have a vision, stick to it, and see results because everybody's working from the same playbook. And that's exactly what Odoo does. Great organizations win because operations matter. That's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's ODOO.com/lockedon. Missed calls and slow follow-ups can cost businesses more than they realize. Every unanswered call, forgotten text, or delayed response can mean a missed opportunity, a lost customer, or a revenue left on the table. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the business communication system built so you never miss a call. Quo brings your team's calls, text, and customer conversation together in one place, helping businesses stay organized, responsive, and connected. Quo simplifies communication for an entire team. Instead of just juggling multiple phones, inboxes, and message threads, everyone stays on the same page and focuses on serving customers. Now, have you ever experienced frustration when the business didn't return your call or follow up quickly? Does responsiveness time not matter? Look, as a customer, y'all, there's nothing worse than reaching out and feeling like your message disappears into a void or they just don't acknowledge it. That is so frustrating. If you need help with a bill, you need help with your water, you need help with your cable, and they're like, oh, yeah, I mean, no response whatsoever. They make it more difficult. You want somewhere and you want to trust a business that always listen to your voice. Money is on the line. Always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. We'll be right back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets. And we are back here for the final segment of Locked On Nuggets. Shout out to you all. Thank y'all so much for joining us each and every day. Shout out to you all. Shout out to everybody that is watching and listening. One last line I want to share from the Marc Stein report that I think is relevant. Sources say that the Nuggets have at least internally discussed whether they have the asset wherewithal to join the trade chase for Boston's Jaylen Brown, but the Nuggets have yet to emerge as a bona fide landing spot for the Celtics MVP candidate. And here is the rub. Denver, the time of messing around is over. Matt and Ryan have their own distinct personalities and ways they feel about the NBA processes. I have been very open about this for a couple years now. When you have historically great players, you do not mess around. And you don't watch as other people in your division, in your conference, load up around their player who you do not believe. You believe you have the best player in the world. And the biggest move you've made over the last 7 years, Aaron Gordon, 2021. Do you know what you gave up in that deal? Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a first-round pick. And then the next biggest move you made, Cam Johnson. You know what you gave up from that deal? Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2031 first-round pick. Those are the biggest moves that you made. That's literally, those are the biggest things that you've done. So when you look through this whole era, the entirety of the swings you have taken have cost you 2 first-round picks. The Minnesota Timberwolves have 3 times outdone any major trade you have made to shift the environment. The OKC Thunder have made bigger moves than that. The Spurs have a litany of talent because of draft position. I'm trying to understand, for the life of me, these teams that you have been around, these teams that you have watched, these teams in your division, in your conference, are making swings to bolster the roster around their best players that are way more significant than anything you've done. And then let's go to the other side of this. The Golden State Warriors, obviously, Kevin Durant and all that, cool, whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop. They went and got Jimmy Butler, and I remember when I was advocating hard that Porter for Butler, and that first, Miami would have took that easy, because Porter was a great asset at that time, and Butler had a diminishing return because of all the nonsense with all the stuff about not wanting to play there, wanting his money, wanting his bag, and you literally saw that happen and had the opportunity to do it and didn't even think about it. Why? Didn't want to shake up the culture. Didn't want to give up Porter. You're too attached to Porter. Like, that's what I'm saying. There are opportunities. Right now, the next big swing in the NBA is Jaylen Brown. Right now, the next big swing in the NBA is Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs. This is literally where we are. You haven't made any of these kind of moves that everybody else makes except for you. Everyone else makes these moves because you know this is the business of the NBA. And if it doesn't work, then you recoup your assets down the line. But while you have these players in-house, while you have these players with your team, you have to make the move. So I don't understand why the Nuggets are so reticent to make these adjustments, because it can't be, chat, that the Cronkies are cheap, because Les Snead is running the Rams and they own the Rams and they're constantly burning. First round picks in the NFL are more valuable, in my estimation, than first round picks in the NBA. And the Rams are constantly burning through assets to go get players. Trent McDuffie, Myles Garrett, Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr., Matthew Stafford. So you watch that team be ran that way in LA, but when it comes to Denver, you do it with the Avalanche. Drury, literally just traded Drury. Like, you just traded back again for a guy that was on your team the last time you went in 2022 and you fell short this year, but you went back and got him. I just don't get it. I don't understand. And I guess what I'm saying to you all, there is no more excuses. And Jokic, Kadri's his name, who the Avalanche traded for again. There's no way, y'all, that if I'm Jokic, I'm signing. There's no way that I'm re-signing and we're not making these improvements when I'm dealing with my career, my prime, and my legacy. Because Josh Kroenke, you get to go home to all the titles that Arsenal and the Avalanche and the Rams earned and the Nuggets won. You get to look and say, I got a great tenure. As Nikola Jokic, though, I don't have the same leverage and opportunity. When I retire, they're going to say I'm a top 10 player because I got 3 championships and 4 MVPs, or I'm a top 15 player because I got 1 championship and 4 MVPs. That's what's going to be his legacy. And it's not going to be just because of Jokic falling short. The team has to be put in place. You know you need to make a move. You know you've never made a big swing. Never. You have never made a big swing. And you're in the entire Jokic tenure, the most you've ever paid is Porter in a first-round pick and R.J. Hampton and Gary Harris in a first-round pick. That's the most you have ever paid in a trade, ever. Don't tell me you can't do it. Don't tell me it's not worth it, because it is. Jaylen Brown is there. Ask the Celtics. We have a deal that works for both of us. JB, Derek White, we will offer you Murray, Gordon, whatever the conversation needs to be. You have it and you figure it out. Because this is what happens when you have an all-time great player in their prime. You prioritize them and you make it work. It is that simple. Y'all, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Y'all know what time it is. This is Swiper. This is Locked On Nuggets. Make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes and Spotify. Let me know what you think in the comment section on what Denver should do. Y'all be easy. See you on the other side.